Welcome to the 2020 Dignity Act Coordinator Training Module on investigating DASA incident reports. In this module, we will cover information regarding the interview process, as well as documentation and record retention. General considerations for conducting an investigation include a review of the DASA incident reporting form, formulating questions when interviewing the target, the alleged bully, and any witnesses to the incident, and an understanding of the importance of documentation throughout the process. If the conduct constitutes criminal behavior that includes but is not limited to possession of weapons, the possession or sale of drugs, assault, sex-related crimes, theft, or for instigating a bomb threat, contact the police and local law enforcement agency. It is imperative that you secure the site and preserve any evidence uncovered during your investigation. Upon receipt of a DASA incident reporting form, the interview process should begin promptly. The investigator and the investigation team should meet to prepare the interview questions, schedule the order of the interviews, and create a documentation process that's necessary to record information received during the interviews and to preserve any evidence. Preparation should include identification of the staff member who will conduct the investigation, ensuring that the questions can get to the bottom of what happened, including the who, what, where, when, and why. It is important to understand that the investigator and the investigative team may be called into formal or informal disciplinary hearings as a result of the investigation. The strategy that is put in place should happen with input from the team. When gathering the facts for the interview process, the investigator and the investigative team should work together to preserve any evidence before it can be destroyed. The investigator and the investigative team may also want to visit the site of the incident, helping you understand what happened, where it happened, who might have been witnesses to the scene, and creating a timeline reconstructing the incident with a greater level of detail. When planning the interview questions, they should be consistent throughout the process, whether you're interviewing any targets, any witnesses, and any of the alleged bullies. Take time to write the questions out ahead of time. Understand that some of the interviewees may be hesitant to talk. Work to build a rapport. Avoid questions or statements that may be misleading. Be careful not to intimidate or accuse any of the interviewees, and check for any inconsistencies in their stories. Any information that might be inconsistent should be highlighted in such a way so that the investigator and the investigation team could follow back and possibly re-interview to clarify any of the points made. When planning and conducting the interviews, some points to consider include the order of the interviewees. The target should be interviewed first and separately from the group, followed by either the accused bully or any witnesses. Looking to form a team for the interview process. And team members could include, but are not limited to, any mental health professionals, school resource officers, or staff members that any of the interviewees may feel comfortable talking to. When questioning the interviewees, use a calm, problem-solving approach. Try to find out what was exactly said throughout the process. Who did what to whom? Was there an intent? Was it just kidding and joking around? Was it misguided humor? Was it teasing that just got out of hand? Or was it something more serious with a threat to harm? What was the relationship of all of those involved? Is there a past history? Do we think that this was something that happened only once? Or has this been happening over time? And on the school functioning, what was the impact? Both on the climate of the school, as well as the mental health of all of those involved. There might be situations during an interview where the interviewee feels more comfortable speaking to a preferred staff member or possibly a staff member of the same sex. All attempts should be made to find a suitable person to help conduct the interviews. When talking to that person, reiterate the need for confidentiality throughout this process. Also share with them the interview questions, the documentation process, and the fact that they should reiterate to all that retaliation for anyone involved in the reporting process or the interview process is prohibited under DASA. The questions that are presented on this slide are just an example of interview questions that we may ask any of the interviewees involved in the process. The point is, we are trying to get to the who, what, when, why, and how things were happening. Any answers should be detailed and documented. Never rely on memory. And all notes should be contemporaneous. Reports should be drafted based on the interview of all of those involved. Again, for consistency, use the same line of questions that you did for the target, interviewing the witnesses separately, and investigating or fact-checking any details that they may provide. Interview each person or persons accused of engaging in the alleged incident. To reiterate again, use the same line of questioning and document as the interview is going on to record any information, looking for inconsistencies, gathering new facts, and checking and corroborating any information given by the target as well as any witnesses. Determining credibility of all those involved in the interview process can include a discussion by members of the interview team. Questions to ask: was there any bias or improper motives in favor or against either the accused bully or the target? What observations were noted on the body language, or were there other clues that a witness or an interviewee may show that could cast shadow on the integrity of their answers? Determining credibility also includes looking for consistency throughout all of the interviewees' answers over time, comparing and contrasting with other facts developed through the investigation and with reality. Also considering, again, each of the interviewees' reputation for being honest and reliable, and checking to make sure there are no hidden agendas or outside interests in the outcome of the investigation. Appropriate documentation is the crux of the interview process. Documentation should include a timeline of all the events that took place during the incidents, an analysis of all the interviewees' answers. It helps you refine your questions if you have to re-examine or re-interview any of those involved. If there are inconsistencies among the answers given by any witnesses, the target, or the accused bully, check on the credibility and also look to re-examine the facts of the case. The timeline also allows you, as an investigator, to reconstruct what happened with a greater level of detail. And once again, if this involves anything that could constitute criminal activity, contact the appropriate law enforcement agency immediately. The conclusions drawn from the interview process could find that this truly was a founded material incident of harassment, bullying, or discrimination. It could be unfounded, or maybe it was joking and teasing that went too far, or maybe it was a misunderstanding or conflict among all those involved. Or it could be where we don't have enough information or evidence to prove either. The conclusion should be analysis of everything that we have gathered from the interview process, analyzing the testimony, refining our questions if needed, and re-examining or re-interviewing. It also is an opportunity to check on the credibility again of all of those involved, and if necessary, making a new timeline of all the uncontradicted facts that came available throughout the interview process. The conclusion should determine whether a material incident of bullying, harassment, and/or discrimination did occur. If that is the case, and once that conclusion has been reached, the investigator and the investigative team should formulate an appropriate response. This response could include support for all of those involved in the process, including the target and the bully. Resources should be made available to support all of those involved within your school building and/or the community. It is important to consider the mental health and well-being of all of those involved within the incident and respond appropriately if any needs arise during or after the interview process. At the conclusion of the interview process, a determination should be based on what happened, the physical evidence, the credibility of the witnesses, any facts gathered during the interview process, and common sense. A report should be drafted concerning the incident on the individual incident reporting form. Those forms can be made available through the OHM BOCES Safety Office, as well as visiting the webpage for the New York State Center for School Safety. The report should be used in drafting charges against the alleged bully, where the investigator and the investigative team have concluded that the accusations committed constitute a material incident of bullying, harassment, and/or discrimination. Those material incidents need to be reported at the end of the school year to the New York State Ed Department. It also gives the Dignity Act coordinator a chance to review all of the incidents involved throughout the year, to look for trends, and to see if education of the school community on any of the sensitivity to the 11 protected classes and beyond is appropriate for this school year or planning for new school years coming up. According to the New York State Education Guidance and its Records Retention and Disposition Schedule ED1, schools are obligated to retain the records related to DASA incident until the youngest person involved in the incident reaches the age of 27 before the school district can legally dispose of them. One of the purposes of the schedule is to ensure that records are retained as long as needed for administrative, legal, and fiscal purposes. At this time, this concludes our Dignity Act Coordinator refresher training on investigations. The resources listed on your screen can provide you more information about the Dignity for All Students Act law, as well as the investigation process. Thank you and enjoy your day.